So the one thing I want to talk about is Mewtwo back. And yeah, I still think this deck can still win games, can still steal games. Crazy strong. Horrendous. You never really want to be attacking with it at all. Hello Glitch Gamers, and this is Daz with another video from Pokemon Pocket here today. And so the one thing I want to talk about is Mewtwo back. And what I mean by that is Mewtwo EX is an interesting card in Pocket. It always kind of, when it first was released back in Genetic Apex, it was always considered to either be 1A or 1B of the top meta decks. And well, I kind of think, obviously, a lot of packs have came out since then, a lot of metas have formed, a lot of things have changed. Mewtwo has kind of fallen off a cliff in terms of power and other stuff like that. But I always kind of think it's always kind of had viability because it's always, with new packs, always got given drip-fed cards and utility to kind of always sort of make it seem as like a sneaky threat in the meta, because Side Drive does it does 4 energy and it does 150 damage, but you have to discard 2 psychic energy to use its attack. So 150 damage is still strong for specifically a basic Pokemon. You know, that's still a good number to hit. It can still one-shot a lot of basic EXs in the game. The only thing that can really survive that, per se, are stuff with either a giant cape attached, or evolution EX Pokemon, or some niche cases, stuff like Golem. But yeah, the reason why I figured I'd bring this to you as well, so it's, as I say, it's got utility cards such as, obviously, Pokeball. We all know that card does. Set your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it into your hand. Of course, there's a random. And then it also, Psychic is only the archetype, or the only typing in the game to receive a trainer card that supports it as a whole, which is the Mythical Slab card, which lets you have a look at the top card of your deck. If it's a Psychic Pokemon, it doesn't have to be basic, it can just be any Psychic Pokemon. Adds it into your hand. If it's not a Psychic Pokemon, puts it at the bottom of your deck. This card is actually not too bad, because mid to late game, if you see an Eevee, you kind of don't want to really be placing an Eevee down, especially in the late game, to be honest. You kind of want to get your Eevee and Sylvions out in the early game, or mid game at the very least. But yeah, and also as well, one of the recent, I guess, it's been out for a few sets now, is Rare Candy, which allows you to evolve Ralts into Gardevoir without the need of Curlier, which, one of the negatives of Mewtwo, even since the card first came out, was Gardevoir, as strong as it is, attaching Psychic Energy to your Psychic Pokemon in the active spot. It's a Stage 2, and Stage 2 decks have always kind of felt clunky because you had to evolve into them twice if you didn't draw the pieces. Yeah, it just felt really bad, to be honest, and that's what kind of made Mewtwo kind of seem like the 1B deck back in the day, behind Pikachu, is for that reason, which is why, as strong as Mewtwo can be as an attacker, it relies on Gardevoir as its power source to keep on attacking for the 150s over and over and over and over again. And if you got it set up back in the day, great, cool, you know, you play games where it won, and it's not like this deck was inconsistent, because the combo, especially considering the game was a bit slower back in the day, you know, strategies weren't hitting as hard, you know, cards still took time to set up. That's kind of why Mewtwo is considered like a 1B deck behind Pikachu. Some people considered it to be 1A because, sure, it was slower to set up, but if it did set up, especially against the Pikachu matchup, Pikachu could never one-shot Mewtwo, whereas Mewtwo could just start one-shotting Pikachus, and that's where Mewtwo can have a favourable matchup against Pikachu. And then the 1C deck in the meta was Charizard, and Charizard just, if Charizard got set up, it had the bulk to survive both Pikachu and Mewtwo, and that's where Charizard was kind of the dark horse in the meta. But yeah, essentially I've talked about most of Mewtwo's tools and utility here, but the one big card that came out in the EV Grove set, which is a new set, is Sylvion EX. So if I just go ahead, go to Sylvion. This card is, I would say, and a lot of people would agree, the most versatile card in the game right now, to be honest. A lot of decks are playing this card, and for good reason. It's a stage 1, so it's not that hard to evolve into. And what makes this card so great? Well, once per turn, when you play this card to evolve one of your EVs, you have the option to draw 2 cards. You would never not take this option because drawing cards, especially with a 20 card deck, especially since draw power is so limited in this game, the consistency doesn't really exist in this game because you can't manually search for anything. All the searches are random. So any cards that again, all you've got to do is play Eevee in this deck, and obviously play this card, you just got to evolve into it. And then you get a free Professor's Research, which is crazy strong. And yeah, this is why I think this card is pretty much the, honestly, best generic, or definitely best generic Pokemon in the game. I don't even think any Pokemon comes close, really. And that's probably why you've seen a lot of people talk about this. A lot of people have smashed decks with this in. Specifically, this card helps Stage 2 decks, which, lo and behold, a Stage 2 deck. And as I said before, Mewtwo relies on a Stage 2 to get it powered up, to start attacking, start doing big damage, start one-shotting stuff. Overall, it's pretty crazy. The speed this deck now has with Rare Candy and Sylvion, draw power, allowing you to skip Curlier. This deck doesn't even play Curlier because it's got draw cards. It's got literally all the trainers in this deck, minus Cyrus actually, is all to do with getting you into your in-game of getting Gardevoir out to start powering up Mewtwo. I only play one Cyrus again because there's just not any space to play anything else, to be honest. I would love to play a second Communication, but again, just no space. You could potentially cut a Mewtwo down, but then you run the risk of not drawing into the Mewtwo. Again, you've got lots of cards to help you draw into the Mewtwo. And maybe Mewtwo's the only cuttable card for Pokemon Communication, but I kind of think at the same time, why would you cut Mewtwo to play Communication to help you draw into the Mewtwo when you can just hard draw and play the Mewtwo? But yeah, it kind of is swings and roundabouts at this point. Also as well, one other thing I wanted to talk about, Sylvion also has crazy synergy with this deck as well. Not just because of its amazing Happy Ribbon ability, but it's a Psychic Pokemon, which means it works with Gardevoir. Gardevoir can power it up, again, 2 energies, only does 70 damage, which is kind of underwhelming. You ain't one-shotting much with this. You can catch some basic Pokemon off guard, I guess. But you may not even be two-shotting anything with this, because, you know, a lot of big beefy Pokemon have 150 HP, or even 140, but again, Giant Cape exists, so you may not even be two-shotting things with this, but it's a Psychic Pokemon, so it works with the strategy of the deck, powering up Psychic Pokemon. Again, 2 for 70, it's not the worst in the world, there are definitely worse attacks than that, but the thing this kind of gives you is, before, again, the problem Mewtwo had is, Gardevoir is not a great attacker. For one, you don't want to be risking your Gardevoir in the active spot anyway. 3 for 60 is horrendous. It's not a good cost. Like, I literally just said how 2 for 70 is not great. Well, 1 extra energy and 10 less damage is awful, especially on a stage 2. Like, again, Gardevoir's ability is incredible, but its attack is awful. You never really want to be attacking with it at all. So what Sylvion provides is kind of this sort of like early to mid-ranged attacker in this deck. If you can't get Mewtwo online, or if you don't draw into Mewtwo early enough, it kind of gives you an extra attacker to work with if you've got Gardevoir out, but you've not been getting your Mewtwo out. So it's pretty great for that. As well, being a Psychic Pokemon, you can use this to search for it. So you can speed up getting your Sylvion out. That allows you to get a free Professor's Research, draws into more cards, maybe draw into a Professor's Research, maybe draw into more of these, maybe draw into this to get Mewtwo out, draw into your rare candies to get your Gardevoirs out. I mean, heck, even draw into your one of Cyrus if something's like low and you can just kill it. Like, it's pretty incredible, like, how much synergy this has just by being a Psychic. It works with what the deck wants to do. It works with a game plan. It speeds up the deck. It's an attacker. It's, yeah, it has a lot of good synergy with the deck. And then also, as well, we can't talk about Sylvion without talking about its predecessor, Eevee. There is an Eevee EX, but while the Eevee EX does have 30 more HP, and you're never really going to want to be on Eevee that much anyway, I've opted for the basic Eevee, the non-EX, because while Eevee EX also does have an attack 1 for 30, which isn't actually bad, it gives you an early option. I may try Eevee EX out, but currently I'm going for this one, just because, again, it has a 1 colourless attack, which lets you draw a card. So if you play Eevee, if you start up with Eevee first, and yeah, you just end up, essentially, I used to play Meowth's Paydig in the earliest stages of this deck back in the day, because I was just like, you know, I wanted to fish through more cards to, again, get this deck up and rolling. But the problem with, like, Meowth didn't really, apart from that, it was just kind of dead weight after that. At least with Eevee having the collect attack and pretty much doing the same thing. Sure, it does no damage, but again, it evolves into Sylvion, which, again, I've literally talked to death about why I personally think Sylvion actually excels even more in this deck, because it's not just a utility Pokemon in this deck, it's an attacker. I just can't, like, explain enough. Like, I don't know if this will be enough to make Mewtwo a meta contender, but yeah, this is one of the decks which has been close to my heart. Like, I love Mewtwo as a actual Pokemon. I still think he's really cool. Yeah, Gen 1, I get it, but yeah, it's a really cool deck, and it just makes me happy to see that it's still getting tools to make it better. Like, even now, like, as I say, it's one of the decks which has been consistently getting cards to make it stronger, make it faster, make it have a lot of more utility, where I don't really think like a lot of older decks have kind of fallen off. For example, the Charizard from Genetic Apex. Again, while the Moltres strategy is still decent, you can still win with it. It just hasn't had any like constant support really to like, again, it's a strong attacker, it can one-shot anything in a game, but if you don't get the Moltres setup going, you just, it's kind of dead in its tracks, to be honest. And it's a reason why a lot of people, originally the Stoke one, people kind of looked at it and was like, yeah, it's good, we can see utility in it, but again, the allure of the 200 damage from that Charizard was what people kind of appreciated in it, but the Stoke one has just aged better. I personally think this out of the Genetic Apex decks is probably, because again it's got consistent support, has probably aged one of the best out of the decks. I'll probably revisit a Pikachu deck and talk about that one, but this is Mewtwo's time in the spotlight, and yeah, I still think this deck can still win games, can still steal games. Again, if people really have not had great luck or anything in more recent packs, you know, and they've still got Mewtwo lying around, if they have pulled on Eevee and we've got Sylvion, I've still got the pieces to build this deck, I highly recommend it. The deck's fun. As I say, it has an early, mid, and late game strategy, which is something the deck never really had before. And before it had the strategy of just attack with Mewtwo. If I can't attack with Mewtwo, it's kind of a loss. Whereas Sylvion bridges that gap now to be able to be the mid-range attacker as well as get your deck functioning with the Happy Ribbon ability. Anyway guys, this is enough rambling from me about this deck. I will go ahead and play a few games with it in ranked at some point just to showcase this deck again. We'll see how it can do, or if this deck still may need a couple more cards. I personally think this deck's pretty good. Anyway, that's enough for rambling from me. This has been Daz from Glitchy Normality. I would love it if you could drop a like and subscribe and tell me in the comments, do you think Sylvion makes this deck work? Do you think Sylvion's an insane card? Do you think it was potentially a mistake they made the card this good? Who knows? And yeah, do you really think that this deck has a shot? But anyway, until next time guys, until the next Pokemon Pocket video, this is Daz from Glitchy Normality signing out. Have a great day. Peace.